All right, this is a test. Is the microphone working? All right, this is a test. Is the microphone working? Hello, everybody. Can you guys all hear me? So this right here, this is what the Rugby Junction train tracker looks like here. So when you're on the website, you can see each blue circle is where there is a location, and we can zoom them in so that you can see what they all look like. Let's see if we can find one that might have a train at it. So this one, there's a train here at Fond du Lac, and so it's red, which means that it's stopped. So what this does is when it picks up the train from the antenna that's mounted there, it sends us the signal based on brake pressure, letting us know if the train is or is not moving. This entire project started close to a year and a half ago, when Todd, aka Rugby Junction, decided to invent the program that he wrote that built this entire foundation. And when we started, we only had 2 points. We had Rugby Junction, which is right here, if it would let me zoom in, and we had Sussex. And since then, we've grown it to have as many as, I think we're close to 20 locations now up and down the CN. And we have lots and lots of host sites at each place. We can't thank you guys enough for that. But as you can see when it shows that there's a train at each spot. It does not work like ATCS. So if you're hoping to use this and thinking that you're going to have an app that will show you exactly where the train is at every second of every day, that's not how this works. So it only can detect that there's a train when the train is within range of the beacon antenna. So if they would ever send us any trains, which they aren't, which is really unfortunate, but maybe they will at some point. Hey, David, man, what's up? Maybe they will at some point send us a train that actually starts moving and we'll be able to see. But for right now, everything that's around is just stopped. And then when they move from location to location, you can click on the dots right here, and it'll show you a little map or a little like table that shows exactly what times and what direction and what ID each train had. And you can then mark them as tracking. So if we wanted to say track this one that went southeast at Wapaka at 9:51, we can label this train, we'll just call it southbound. And now hit track and watch what happens now. Underneath it, a little tag called southbound will pop up. And now when that train gets to Dale, the little tag that says southbound right here will then go and show up at Dale, and we'll see the arrow appear. And that's how you can tell where each train is at. So right now, we know that that southbound train that we just tracked with this ID right here is in between Wapaka and Dale, somewhere between the two spots. until it gets to the next spot. And every single point has a table that shows as many as 10 of the last times that a train went past, or 10 times that telemetry was detected. It's very, very helpful. As you can see here, there's points all the way down as far as Burlington right now. We do have plans to add one at Silver Lake, which is right about here. And there's also plans to add some points for the CPKC as well, which we are currently looking for donations to fund those locations, because we are not rich people and we do not have unlimited funds. But myself and Todd are more than willing to work with Steel Highway and Tavern League of Rail fans, who have very generously offered to host at every single location that they have a webcam. So if we can raise the money from you guys, we will set up CPKC. That is what we're hoping to do next. I'm really hoping that we're going to see a train. There's a train going past my place at Neenah right now. So if we stay on here and we watch at Oshkosh, we'll see it go southbound in just a little while here. A southbound arrow will pop up and it'll tell us that there's a train going through Oshkosh. And if we want to know exactly what that train was, we can go and see what time it went past Dale. And look at that. It went past Dale at 9:46. And now, if we knew what train it was, which I don't know the symbol, we would be able to mark it as tracking. So let's just mark this one so that you guys can see what it does. We'll just mark this one as southbound manifest, I guess. Oops. Well, actually, we'll just call it southbound freight. Okay. Now we'll hit track. And now it shows up under Dale. Neenah's point is offline currently. It's going to be coming back this week. Oh, yeah, I probably should explain that. So, oh, now this one's moving. Okay, so let's talk about that. So here we see a question mark at Burlington. You might be wondering, what does that mean? Well, when telemetry has only passed one point and has not passed any other points, the program does not know what way the train is going, but it just knows there's a train there. So since Burlington is the first point in the system on the south end, this train must be a northbound, because otherwise it wouldn't know what way that, otherwise it would, if it was southbound, it would know it was southbound because it would have passed every other point going south. So we can mark this one as northbound, and we can just type it in as like this. This is what I like to do. BUR for Burlington, and then the time. So 10:10 a.m. And now look at that. It's tracking. And in about 15 minutes or so, it will get to McGuanago, and we will be able to see, and it will change from a question mark to a northbound arrow at McGuanago. Sometimes this does not always do 100% of what it's supposed to do, and occasionally things do get missed. So if you want to like really rely on it, you can, but there are times when I will admit it's still, we're still working on getting it up to full strength. So it has its moments. All right, so yeah, they should at 9:44 and 9:55. Yeah, they should. I would think they should. And then, so as we see a question mark, or we just saw a question mark at Rugby Junction, that one means that it's a WSOR train because it did not pass any of the other points, so it must not have been a CN train. And as we can see, this question mark here just turned green. So when it turns green, that means the EOT has been detected. So that means that the train must be very close to the Burlington location right now, and it's like rolling right past the antenna. And when it's green, it means it's moving. When it's red, it's stopped, based on the brake pressure that's detected when from the EOT, which emits a whole bunch of information, and that's just where we get that from. When you see it being gray, it means the head of train device has been detected. That does not carry any sort of brake pressure information, so we have no way of knowing when, if or if not a train is moving, if all we see is an HOT, which is the head of train. Yep, that's exactly what I was just gonna say. I just got to that. I didn't even see what you said there. And as we can see at Fond du Lac, we now have a green arrow, and we had a red arrow here before. So this means that the train here at Fond du Lac is now moving again and should be headed northbound towards Oshkosh. But likely, it's probably going to be stopping on the siding in Shop's Yard because of the southbound that just went through Neenah. So now I guess what we're going to do is we can just sit here and watch and see if we can see anything happen. Because when something happens, that's when you guys are really going to see just how important this really is, and how much it helps out. You haven't seen much yet. You really haven't seen it until you see it in action. And it was the same for me when I first joined the project. Rugby Junction, yeah, he showed me how this whole thing worked, and I saw a northbound go from Sussex to Rugby Junction, and I said to myself, man, this is going to work. Oh, okay. So the next thing to explain is the L pin. And so if we look here at Waukesha, we can see there's a gray question mark with an L. And the L means that it is a local train. So what that means is that we have noticed that this specific ID, in this case, the ID number is 2923. And that means that EOT comes back to Waukesha every day. And so this must be the L504, because what else would continue to come back to Waukesha every single day? So anything that you see with an L on it is more than likely a local. However, we have to add those ourselves. So sometimes it might take a little while before the new local EOT is added, when they replace the EOT or do whatever whatever the railroad has to do. So, David, to answer your question, T4 would be a question mark, at West Slinger here. This is the WSOR. This is the first point of the WSOR. So when the WSOR train goes eastbound towards the CN, it passes West Slinger, is a question mark there. Then when it gets to Rugby Junction, it turns into a southbound arrow, but it shows up at this point, which is the Rugby Junction WSOR point. And as we can see, it looks as though T4 showed up there at 8:13 a.m. this morning with ID 5115. So if we really want to find out where T4 is, we can just label this as T4, hit track, and then we can check the other beacons to see where it went. And look at that. When you look at Eagle, it shows, T4 at 9:26. And that's how you can tell exactly where a train is at any time. Just by doing that, it'll automatically give you a nice little heads up on exactly where it is. Actually, we have the antenna at Eagle, not Elkhorn, but as you guys can see right here. Let's see. Oh, look. look what I found. Here is a southbound train at Lamira right now. This train is approaching Lamira, but it hasn't passed the Lamira point quite yet. We can tell because the icon is gray. When it turns green, we'll know that the train is moving through Lamira and headed on south towards Allenton. When it gets out of range, it'll disappear from the Lamira point, and we won't see it again until it hits the Allenton point, which is why adding as many points as possible is preferred, because the more points you have, the more times a train is forced to expose itself, if you think about it. We're going to be adding points for the CN at Van Dyne, Waiawega, and Silver Lake, as I mentioned earlier. But those should be going up within this, hopefully sometime this next week. So now, I guess we can hunt around and see if that northbound, we can just kind of watch and see if we see anything moving. Or we can also just mark this one as tracking like this. And now it has a little T next to it, which means it's tracking. And each one shows a different color as well when you hit track, so that you know which one it is that you marked as tracking. That way you don't have like 15 things marked as tracking and they're all the same colored dot. That would get really confusing. So that's why we made it so that you can track it with a different colored dot. And then if you know the symbol, like I was showing you earlier, you can mark that in there too with whatever you want to put in there. You can put the engine's leader or whatever. What I highly recommend doing is when you see a train passing a live cam, go on to Rugby Junction Train Tracker. Go to the point that is also at the live cam location and rewind the cam until you find the head end of the train. And at that point, the train that's showing up on the tracker will be the same train that's passing the live cam at the same time, thus giving away what symbol it is and what power it is, so that you know what to add to your little tracking pin that you're labeling it as on the train tracker app. Very, very helpful. Oh, yeah, I should say that when you track a train or whatever, like I just did right here, only you can see that. So only the person who labels it can see it on their account. Not everybody else can see it. So that way, in case you were to get a symbol wrong or whatever else it might be, you're not messing it up for everybody else. You'd only be messing it up for yourself. But, you know, at least so you could label a train cheeseburger. And if you want to see where cheeseburger is, more power to you. But no one else is going to see that you're tracking cheeseburgers. I'm really hoping that we get to see the southbounder that we just tracked at Dale go through Oshkosh, or that the northbound will come into McGuanago. But I don't know. It can be a little bit of time. Yep, that's another thing I need to touch on there. Nice catch there. There are times when at yards, like at Stevens Points and at Fond du Lac, sometimes they will change the EOT out or change the power as well. And that will cause your tracked ID to basically become useless past that point. You would have to retrack it because of the fact that when they change the EOT out or the power out, the ID that it's connected as changes. They have to get assigned a new one. And then at that point, you would need to watch again. And then the next time when it goes past Fond du Lac or whatever, going southbound, for example, like this one just did here, as we can see right there, it would show up as a question mark again, and then it would be like that until it would get to Lamira, where you would then see it as a southbound arrow. And now, as we can see, that southbounder at Lamira is now racing past the point, and it's green, so he's moving. Still nothing at McWanago and nothing at Oshkosh yet. And nothing up in the Northwoods. So I guess we can talk about where we have points. And here's another thing I guess we can touch on. When you see a gray location like this one is at Neenah here, it means that the point is not working or that it is offline. So when that happens, nothing will get shown there, nothing will get picked up there. It doesn't mean that the point is necessarily being taken out of service. It just means that either the point is offline or somehow the power got knocked out, or that there just currently is not enough hardware at that location, which is currently the case for the Neenah computer setup. And Junction City is also gray right now because that computer has decided to kick the bucket on us time after time, but we're going to be getting that going again today as well. Now, if we could please just have a train come. Oh, look, another northbound is at Burlington now. And as we can see, the first northbound is still listed there as at 10:10 because it didn't pass McWanago yet. Oh yeah, Todd, maybe you should have been the one doing this demonstration because, yeah. But anyways, good. That's another good point. I gotta talk about that. So, if you are sitting at your house, like I am right now, and and let's say you just don't live with the train tracks right in your front yard. Some people just, aren't. It's not realistic for everybody. So you can be watching cams, labeling trains, and then when you go out, you say, well, I'm going to go on Railfan right now. So then you're not going to take your computer with you. But if you take your phone, sign into your account, anything that you've marked as tracking or anything like that at all on the computer, it will still be there for you on your phone. So it's usable from your computer, your phone, and anything you do on your singular account is all linked as one. So it all goes right together. You don't miss out on anything. That's one of the most amazing features that this app has. And as we can see, this is definitely that's another good question. I was about to get into that. Does anything happen with trains that have both a rear DPU and an EOT? Well, I can say that from what I've seen, usually what happens is when there's a train with DPUs, which this one clearly does not have, because at some locations, okay, I'm getting way too far ahead of myself here. Usually what happens is two icons will appear. One for the HOT and the EOT, and another one appears for DPUs. So if this train had DPUs right now going northbound, we would see two question marks right next to each other. One would be labeled with an HOT and an EOT, and then the other one would look just like this, but instead of showing HOT and EOT, it would show longer addresses and say DPU. And when the command DPU, which is like the leader, when that signal is picked up, the DPU icon shows up as gray, just like when an HOT device is picked up, which is also on the head end of the train. And then when the mid DPU or the rear DPU or whatever gets picked up, then it turns green, just like when an EOT is picked up. So we're going to label this train as Burlington 1025. Sometimes this is a little putsy and doesn't like to. So we're going to label this one Burlington 1025. And now, as you can see, it shows we have two trains between Burlington and McWanago. I'm going to hope that when the train goes through Oshkosh, I'll be able to show you what that DPU configuration looks like, because I believe the train that just went through had DPUs. Todd, there is sometimes. Sometimes trains do have an EOT on the end with DPUs on the rear. It's rare, but it does happen. Jamie Huebers was just asking about that the other day, actually. Yeah, so that southbound at Lemire that had that IC unit third out, like that one person mentioned, We just saw that train show up on the at that Lamira point. So when next time we see it going through Allenton, we'll know where it's at. And man, what the heck is going on? Oh, look what I saw. Look what we found. Crump. What the heck? Oh, I know exactly what happened. So the DPUs have been detected for that southbound at Oshkosh. But we didn't label the DPUs as tracking. We labeled the HOT and EOT as tracking. Because when there's two icons, you really only need to label one of them because both of them are going to be traveling with the train. And then when it gets to Allenton, we have a setup there that is single track. So it combines any telemetry that is detected within I believe 2 minutes is assumed to be on the same train, since it's impossible for there to be more than one train going through Allenton at a time. So that way, all the DPUs and HOT, EOT, it all gets combined into just one map pin. And oh, there it is. The one that we tracked earlier, showing that it's going through Oshkosh. And now you can see, as when we click on it, it's the same ID as earlier, 32675. And if we click on Oshkosh, it shows it at 1028 going southbound. It's approaching the point at Oshkosh right now. And if we really want to check just to make absolutely sure, if you still just want to be sure, you go back to Dale and look at that, 32675, and it's got that tracking label on it. So yep, this is most definitely the same train from Dale that's going through Oshkosh. And now see how the little tag pin moved? I just did explain why Allenton is magical, because it's single track, Todd. I literally just said that. But anyways, now that we saw that, now we're going to check and see if anything's going through McGuanago yet. And oh, look at that. So that first northbound that we saw at Burlington at 1010 is now going through McGuanago at 1029. And we know that because the little tag moved from Burlington to McGuanago. And so when we click on it, we can see it's going through at 1010. Stop. Okay. And now the other tag is still down by Burlington because the second northbound didn't get to McGuanago yet. So now we know that so now this is pretty much, I mean, there's more to it than this, but this is a very basic example of how this works. I mean, and what you can do with it. And of course, everybody's going to be wondering, how can we get access to this? Well, as of right now, access isn't being given out for free, but we're asking, since we're looking to raise money for funding points for CPKC, I think what we're asking for is donations of about $25 or so at minimum. And then that would be the price to get access to it completely. And everybody is given an individual account. And as of right now, I believe we have 15 or so people that have access to it. And eventually we are looking to make it public for everybody to be able to use, because that would be the main goal. And let's just see. And now we can see here the EOT of that first train is passing McGuanago now. So we know that the train is racing northbound through McGuanago, headed for Waukesha, where it will show up next when it gets there. Some points can display train meets as well. So if there's a spot where there might be two trains meeting, for example, at Rugby Junction, you might see a northbound arrow and a southbound arrow at the same time. And one of them usually will be red and one of them will usually be green, and that's how you know which train is stopped in the siding and which train is going straight through and not stopping. So but it's pretty, I mean, I don't really know what else to tell about, but oh no, we have a problem. This is not supposed to happen. Why is there a northbound in Oshkosh and a southbound in Oshkosh at the same time? That is concerning. What I'm thinking is there must be a northbound waiting at Black Wolf, and it's waiting for the southbound to clear, and then it will start coming northbound. That's my guess. But sometimes weird oddities happen like this, and you just kind of have to roll with it. Yep. Like I was saying, we just need funds for hardware. We've spent combined, we've probably spent out of pocket close to $5,000, if not more, on this project. And as you can see, it really, really does work. So we're hoping that we can eventually get CPKC and hopefully UP within the state of Wisconsin to be up and fully tracked and running at some point. But that's going to take it costs a lot of money, folks. So donations are welcome at any time. As for an ETA for the Burlington webcam being up, it is being worked on right now. They are down in Burlington setting it up. It should be online today. That is true. As far as I'm aware, the install there is going pretty smoothly. So we should see it. I would think probably before noon, we should see it online. So another thing I should say is when you see a train with DPUs and only DPUs, you only see one icon for it. You will not see two icons because that wouldn't be possible. How could a train that only has DPUs show an EOT and an HOT when it doesn't exist? So anyway, now that we've seen what this does, how it works, the other thing that I'd like to show is a train passing a live cam right when the tracker is displaying the train. So if people stay online here, we're going to really quickly put up the Waukesha rail cam. And I pray to God that this works and does not screw me over. Gosh. Okay. And now we don't want to get copyrighted by Tavern League, so we're not going to display it. We will not show the webcam until the train's actually passing it. Once we see the arrow show up there at Waukesha from that northbound from Mugwanago, we will put on the Bulldog Builders live webcam so that everybody can see that this does in fact detect exactly when the train is there. And we'll also be able to see what the train is that's coming through Waukesha, and we'll be able to change our little label on it as well. So we can change it to see what the leader is and mark it as what's leading, which will then make it really easy to label it, turn off the train tracker for a while and, get some housework done or something, and in a couple of hours, turn it back on, log back in, and you can do a quick check to see where your little tracking tag is, and it'll tell you exactly where the train's at or what the last point it was that the train passed. It's very, very helpful. It's a little different than ATCS, where you'd have to sit there and stare at it, and there was no tracking feature whatsoever. So if you were to do something else for a couple hours and it's a really busy line you're trying to monitor on ATCS, you could easily lose track of where that train was. But not with this. This, you'll always know exactly where it is. So does anybody have any questions or anything that they would like me to answer, or anything else they'd like us to go over? We're happy to answer any questions regarding anything that the audience might be wondering. We'll give it a minute because there's a slight delay. YouTube just does that. But, Todd, is there anything else that you would like to add? Yep, that is true. Tavern League of Railfans does not have the little EOT or pickup timestamps like the Steel Highway locations do. And so yes, well, what's the question? What's your question? David, not funny. But I'll answer your question anyway. Okay, well, what's your question, Wisco Railfanner? I don't know. I would say probably an SD75i on rebuilt. If we're talking CN, like CN, not like EJ&E or IC or anything like that, because that's like not really CN, if you know what I'm saying. Well, otherwise, I'd have to say, if we're including everything that CN currently owns, I'd have to say probably Bessemer and Lake Erie's Tunnel Motors, because those are pretty neat. We're just out here having some questions and answers here while we wait for the northbound train to show up at Waukesha. Is the Shoreline Sub ever going to be hosted? No, it will not. Shoreline Sub is not worth the time or the money, because that line is called, well, we cannot say what I cannot actually say on air what I think of the Shoreline Sub, but yeah, when you have one train 6 days a week and then a coal train maybe 3 times a week, I don't think that warrants spending the money to put antennas there, because the cost for an antenna that can pick up DPU telemetry is about $200 for a computer, $100 for an SDR, software-defined radio, and about $20 for an antenna. So that brings you to around $320 per location. And unfortunately, the Shoreline Sub runs with DPUs, so you would have to have the more expensive setup, and $300 plus for a location that sees maybe 2 trains a day, I don't think that's worth it. I would really like to get the UP Milwaukee sub going and the Adams sub going, if that's possible, though. I think we could have a really nice point at St. Francis. I think it would be really great to have a point right at Mitchell Yard. And I think it would be great to have a point somewhere near the zoo as well for the UP. I also think we could have one where already is a UP point here at Sussex, but it doesn't do anything right now because there is no other UP antennas in the area. Hopefully this northbounder hurries up, because here comes the second northbound into McGuanago now. As we can see, both northbounds are now between McGuanago and Waukesha, and neither of them have any DPUs. So we're about to find out what they are once they hit Waukesha. And we'll be able to label them, and then from that point on, as they go northbound through the system, they'll show up at Rugby Junction, and just after Rugby Junction, when they run out of range there, within the next 2 to 3 minutes, they come roaring past the Slinger webcam. It is. It's seriously good to use hand-in-hand with rail cams. Absolutely it is. Because basically what the rail cam is the rail cam is this, but just with a picture, like a video going. So if you see what you saw on a rail cam and then mark what you saw, then when you see it go past locations that don't have a rail cam included with them, you'll still know what's passing by. That's exactly why this is a great thing to use hand-to-hand rail cams. That is a great point to make, actually. That is. Northbound at the Fond du Lac webcam, supposedly. Do we see a northbound at the Fond du Lac location though? There it is, right there. Sure enough. Should we put on the Fond du Lac webcam just so everybody can see what it is? The press box. Hopefully we don't have to watch any ads. And look at that. There it is. So now here's what we're going to do. We're going to, if the computer will just load. Oh, come on. It's not going to want to do this, is it? Okay, here it comes now. So now, and this looks like A447. So as it's passing by the cam, you get its number, and it's 8322. So then we go back here, and we click on the not tracking icon. If it would just behave. And now we enter in CN 8322 447. And now, when 447 gets to Oshkosh, because I would like to see that train today, it will show up as 447 8322 when it pings at Oshkosh later. And then I'll know, oh, I have about 15 minutes until it's coming into Neenah. Because they stop at Fond du Lac for a while to work the yard for 447. No, it does not work for passenger trains, unfortunately. No Amtrak, no Metra, none of that stuff works because those don't run with an EOT. Basically, if it doesn't have DPUs or an EOT or HOT, it can't be detected. Yeah, using train tracker and webcams, I don't miss ATCS that much either, especially with the fact that we're going to be adding way more locations to this. Who needs ATCS anyway? Well, it looks like we might be able to make Amtrak work after all. After all, Todd is the brains of this project. He's Rugby Junction on the screen, for those that don't know. But yeah, as you can see, the EOT has been detected at Fond du Lac, which means the end of the train's going by. So if we hit this, the end of the train should be going by very, very soon because the EOT on the end of the train is now moving closer. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, that makes this even more cool. Yeah, now this is getting really serious. Okay, we definitely need to raise funds, everybody. So send some donations in if you want CPKC, because we're willing to put it up, but we need the public funding to do so. Public funding and makes this happen, and it also gets those people who donate access to the app. So now we'll go back on the train tracker just in case that northbound's hitting. Oh, a northbound's going into Oshkosh. So in 15 minutes, I should see that at Neenah. There's that southbound we tracked earlier at Lemira going through Allenton now. So in about 15 minutes, we'll see it on the Slinger rail cam. When the train goes through Allenton, if you're watching the Slinger Depot webcam, you'll hear the 131 defect detector going off. That defect detector is in Allenton. And so you'll know, hey, there's a train coming. It's about 10 or so miles away. And at Waukesha now, we can see that the first northbound is pinging there. So let's see if it's going past yet. Not yet. The HOT has been detected. So the train is in the area, but it's not there yet. It's not quite there yet. That means that when the HOT is detected, you have a few minutes maybe to get ready. It's basically the symbol for like get your camera ready, get out of your car, get to your shot spot, because you have like a minute or 2 minutes max before the train is right on top of you. HOT is HOT, head of train. Yeah, like Todd was saying. EOT is end of train. So an engine has an HOT device in it. Every single one does. Sometimes they forget to shut them off. And then trains will go through that are that have just DPUs on the front and the rear, and sometimes you'll see an HOT pin pinging along going through the system with it, and that just lets you know that somebody forgot to shut the HOT device off. So now any second here, we should be seeing it coming past the Waukesha camp. We're gonna watch. It's still gray. And then once you see it coming past there, that should be all you would need to trust in the fact that this system works and that this is the future for this hobby. The future of rail fanning, the future of train tracking lies with this program. Now the EOT is detected. Train should be rolling through, unless somehow it already did. Sometimes this location acts up. It didn't yet. But Waukesha's antenna is also way up high outside, so it kind of has a little bit too much range, if you ask me. And no, I haven't seen the Fond du Lac Railcam log. I don't really pay attention to that because I log and track everything myself every single day. But that's just me. So, but I'm just waiting here so that everybody can see that it does actually work. And man, oh man, is it frustrating that the train's not there yet. Should be getting there. I'm gonna guess the second northbound is probably, yeah, the second northbound went by McGuanago 4 minutes ago. We can see that because the one at 10:25 was right there. And now that one's at, so he's between McGuanago and Burlington too. I mean, McGuanago and Waukesha. So there's another train probably around Vernon or so right now. There it goes, going by Waukesha. It's a northbound intermodal. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back here and we're going to get ourselves a leader. And it's the CN, what is that, 2250 or 2259? It's a GEVO. So we'll just take this, and now we can edit our little tracking tag. And we just do CN 2259, and we're going to guess the symbol is 199. We don't know for sure. And just hit save. And just like that, it updates. And it updates back through the log too. So you can see right here at McGuanago, it now shows 2259 or whatever. And here, since we labeled 447 earlier, we can see what time 447 passed all the points as well. So if you ever miss something, or like, oh shoot, I wonder what that train was, well, when you find out what it was, you can then go track it and then look back through the points and see what time that train you tracked passed through. Makes it really interesting, actually. And Todd, it looks like we have a problem. Wait, never mind, we do not. I was thinking there should have been 2 arrows showing up there, but there is not, because I'm guessing this train is 1x1 configure. No, I know. We already saw the train go past the camera on the app. No, on the stream already. we saw it was the CN 2259. So anybody else have any questions or any comments or anything? Like, what do we think? There's a that northbound is now going through Oshkosh. He's racing by the point. And now it does kind of help to know exactly where each point is, and where you see the dot on the map for where each location is very, very close to wherever the location of the antenna itself actually is. So the Oshkosh antenna is, as you can see, on the very, very southern tip of Oshkosh. And as we can see now, that train that we tracked from Wapaka earlier is going through Dale. And we know that because it has the same southbound tag that we tagged it with earlier too. When T3 passes Eagle, you will see a question mark appear at Eagle. It'll be a little icon, like a little gray circle with a question mark. Well, we're only planning Rudolph and Mosinee and Rapids if you get your computers going, Mason. So, just so you know. Well, thanks. We appreciate that. Yeah, I'd like a WSOR antenna at Germantown to detect WSOR. The only thing is, I personally, I really kind of enjoy that WSOR shows up as a question mark, because that way you know it's a question mark and not like you know it's WSOR and you know it's not a CN train. You know, makes it a little easier to tell, especially with that Rugby Junction point being so active with there always being WSOR in the area. Yeah, 100%. Between this and the rail cams, you wouldn't have to leave until the train you want to see is right there. That is the entire point of this project. Because no one likes to go, especially in wintertime, who really likes to go stand out in the cold or sit out in the cold in their vehicle for hours to see a train they think is coming but have no idea where it is, just to find out that it only has a couple of GEVOs anyways. That's kind of a bad day out rail fanning, if you ask me. I'd rather just know when the cool stuff is coming, track it, and be able to just, go outside and suffer through the cold for just a couple minutes to grab my photo and then go back inside. Yep. We'll see that northbound, provided that they don't have to stop anywhere for a CP train. We should see that northbound show up at Sussex too in just a little bit. If everybody wants to stay online and enjoy watching the trains go through the points, that's totally cool. I mean, that's kind of what this was supposed to be for, so that people can tune in and watch the map in action and see what it does. And it's just to get it some face time and let everybody know what exactly this mysterious train tracking app is that I keep making posts about. This is what it is. Yeah, that is true. When it is cloudy out. The antennas tend to pick up trains way sooner and hold on to them for way longer than they usually would. On a day like today, at least up by me, it's pretty clear sky for the most part. So the antennas at Dale and Oshkosh are going to be working normally. Otherwise, they kind of sometimes, if things are going badly, there can be times when a northbound train will be at Sussex, and then if it's super cloudy, Rugby Junction will pick up the train before it's really there, and that can be frustrating. But there's never going to be a way to make this 100% perfect. We all just have to appreciate what we've got because we could have nothing. And without this, I can tell you right now that it would be a lot harder to rail fan, especially at Neenah, because with there not being a cam anywhere between Fond du Lac and Neenah, there's really no way to know when a northbound is getting close. So having that Oshkosh location that took us months to get really helped me out. It helps all the guys out up here in the Neenah area. And as we can see here right now, A447 has stopped at Fond du Lac. He's going to be working the yard. When he starts moving again, it will turn green and then disappear from the Fond du Lac point, and we won't see him again until he gets to Oshkosh. Oh, looks like that northbounder stopped in Waukesha. Must be waiting for a CP. Either that or it's waiting for a southbound that came from Sussex, which is not the case because the last train through Sussex was at 8:27. So that's long gone. So it's waiting for CP to go through. Yes, there is. There is a way to look back at Eagle. There's a way to look back at all the points. I'll show it right now. So you can look back. I don't know how long. I think it might be 24 hours. Or it might just be the last 10 times that a train was picked up. So we can actually see when T3 went through Eagle yesterday, which was at 8:40 p.m. and it was a question mark. And then we can also see when T4 went through Eagle yesterday morning, and it was this ID right here. But yeah, you can do that for every single point. You click on it, it'll tell you exactly when each one went through. And to note, this timestamp tells you the last time the train was picked up there. So it's not when it first was picked up there, it's the last time it got picked up. So like if it's been pinging at, say, a southbound's been sitting at Waukesha for like an hour, like this, who knows how long this one is going to sit here, right here. It'll tell us once it finally is out of range, that's the last time it will tell us that it was at Waukesha. If that makes sense. And yes, we do take PayPal donations. The donation link is right here. And now we're going to talk about Junction City because Junction City is an interesting location. Oh, we got a problem at Amherst. Oh boy, here comes the southbound into Amherst now. Now here's something else we're going to talk about real quick. So as you can see, DPUs on this there are DPUs on this southbound. The DPUs are showing up as a question mark. Why? Well, the answer is because it means that Stevens Point failed to pick them up and that the point at Hewitt failed to pick them up as well, which sometimes happens because those locations up north are a little bit fussy sometimes. They don't work as well as the ones that are a little bit further south. But as you can see, as I was explaining earlier, there's two pins. One has the HOT and EOT, and one will have the DPUs when there's a DPU train, until they get to Allenton, when they will get combined. So this means the train's approaching Amherst right now. Can you hear me now? Mic check, mic check. Mic check. Okay, the mic is still on. You guys should be able to hear me. I don't know why it's not working, but I'm literally right next to my microphone. Okay. Here is a westbound. Well, technically a northbound, but it's at point. It says it's moving, supposedly. So let's talk about Junction City. Junction City is a point that has trains going 4 different ways. When the train shows up at Junction City, it does not know, the program does not know if the train will be diverging and going south or north, or if it's going to be going straight west or east, because there are no locations south or north of Junction City. So when A491 comes up to Junction City and it's going to turn and go south toward Rapids, it shows up as a westbound arrow, even though the train actually is turning to go south. So it's very important that when that JO point is online, that when you see something showing up there, you will really, really want to use that Junction City, Brian and Wendy's Hiawatha live cam on YouTube for that. Now, what else do we talk about here? So as you can see, here's the point at Hewitt right here. I really wonder why the microphone's not working properly. I have no idea. I don't know where the microphone is on the computer, so maybe I can try this. Is that better now? I'll just have to talk extra loud. So there are some points in the North Woods area. Hewitt, there is one at Owen, and there is one at Ladysmith. As you can see, there's another L icon because this one that's there is a local. I believe it's for L519, which is the Ladysmith area local. And all of a sudden, there we see the same southbound again that we just saw earlier at Allenton, and it's going through Rugby Junction, which means that it just went past the Slinger webcam. So if we wanted to find out what train it was, we could go on to YouTube, go on to the Slinger cam, and watch the train go by. Then you go on to the train tracker app, click on this train, and label it whatever the train was, and then hit save, and then you'll have it exactly as you saw it perfectly from that point forward. So now we can see and we can watch and see how they're going to go about having that southbounder meet that northbound that we just saw go through Waukesha. So if we just keep watching here, we should see that northbounder show up at Waukesha very shortly here. Here, we'll zoom in again a little bit so we can see the names of the antennas. And then that way, here we go. We'll just do this. This right here was the original big trio of points that were added before I went completely crazy and went haywire finding hosts everywhere. And within the last 3 months, 4 months, we've gone from like 5 or 6 host locations to close to 20. And we're not stopping. So stupid microphones. We should be seeing, well, we're probably going to be having that second northbound might not show up. He might be stopping at Vernon because there, I don't know how far that Waukesha antenna can reach, but it's like it's got some range, and you can't have 2 trains at Waukesha and northbound at the same time. So I guess now we'll just watch and see what's happening. And also, if anybody wants to get access to the app today, you can make donations to the link the email address that I provided in the chat, and we can get you going. But just please note that any sharing of your account is prohibited and will result in termination of your access to your accounts. Should we find out that you might be sharing your account with somebody else who did not become an authorized user of the app. Yeah, just keep retracting them messages. Because you got to remember, there's a 30-second to a minute stream delay from like what you see, what I see, and what like on your end, what I see on my end, and what the people on the live stream see. Because they don't actually just show a stream like live, actually live. It's a little bit delayed because like I think that's actually a safety thing that YouTube does, where it puts a buffer in there and it will never actually let it be fully 100% actually live real time. So it's normal that we're seeing a slight delay in what you're seeing on the YouTube stream. You should be seeing a slight delay. If you're not seeing a slight delay, then there's something desperately wrong with YouTube. Oh, another northbound coming into McGuanago. And we didn't track this one, so we don't know what it is. So we're going to go ahead and track this one as Iguanago 1112. And when it passes Waukesha, we'll be able to see what it is. Oh. Heard that. What blazes happened to the phone? Stay on it. Why it keeps doing that? Oh, frustrating. Dead. I don't know what the password is, so I can't get in. Okay, let's go back onto this stream. I guess we're just going to be sitting here watching the map at this point. So honestly, what we might do is just leave this up for everybody to watch for right now. And now that you can pretty much see what we're talking about here, and then you guys can have fun watching it for a while. The Mr. North one should be the CN 8881 North. Thank you for that. Thank you. So, it's that northbound. Yep, $25. That's the minimum. I mean, we like it. We would love it if you would donate more. I mean, I was considering saying $50 because, Actually, I think I need to confer with. Let me confer with Tom real quick to make sure that we are on the same page. Okay, so we're going to be, unless we hear otherwise, um, we're going to be leaving this up, but for people to watch, and we'll zoom it out so that we can see. And oh my gosh, we have something going by what pattern. Okay, let's go find out what it is. And there it is with DPUs right there. So now we're going to scroll back and find out what it is. The train is M342. I can tell because of the trash cars it has. Oh boy. Oh boy. You're really struggling. And here comes the engines. Oh my goodness. Yeah, everybody's saying that it was lagging. Yeah, you might be right. 2929. So now we go back to this. Yeah, I don't know what to, I don't even know how to begin to explain that one. I also don't know why this isn't working. So